Hello world and welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. Last week I set up my brand new Archer and Olive bullet journal, and this week I will be setting up for the month of August 2020. I really can't comprehend that we're over halfway through the year and the year just keeps on rolling, but I'm very excited about the theme that I chose for August. I hope you will enjoy. I had the idea for this theme at the beginning of the year and I've been holding on to it because it felt most appropriate for August. If you weren't here last year, the theme that I did for August, which I should say is my anniversary month. My spouse and I got married in August. Oh my God, 10 years ago. Yeah. The theme that I did last year was a very goofy, but I absolutely adored it, a Frank Castle and Karen Page ship theme. So in keeping with doing something that is like near and dear to my heart and is a little bit silly and is a little bit shippy, I am doing a Halo theme for August. Halo is one of my favorite video game franchises. And when I say that, I am referring to the first 3 games because 4 is awful. And I haven't actually played 5. Like, the footage looks amazing of it, but I haven't played it because, yeah, we can talk about that, maybe. But I love Halo. It's one of the first games that my spouse and I played together. We've played it multiple times, both him playing it and me watching. And I've actually tried playing co-op, which I never thought I would be able to play an FPS, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the mechanics. I love the story. I love the humor. I love the characters. I love Halo so much. Anyway, I can gush about Halo forever, but let's get into the actual setup that I did. I wanted to do some watercoloring to put my Archer and Olive to the test. So I started out with the watercolor to give that time to dry. I actually did the watercolor on a different day, so it had plenty of time to dry. The page that I am setting up here is going to be the memory keeping space for my kid. At the end of the month, I will paste in images of my kids so I can track how much they've grown and like memories that we had from the month, that sort of thing. Because Halo is a science fiction game and it's very space-based, I wanted to do this like space scene, pretty abstract and not a lot of detail exactly, but just some purples and blues in kind of a nebula look. And I did add stars later on, you will see that, but for the moment I'm just doing this wash of color. Now I went really, really heavy on the water. I'm not sure how much you can tell that from the video, but I did not have any fear. I went full force with all of the water, all of the paint, all of the movement. The paper did pill quite a bit, which is a complaint that I've heard others have with the Archer and Olive notebook. You can kind of see it here. And it did sort of bleed through, as you can see. Honestly, I'm not super bothered by it, but just to sort of give you an accurate representation of what the page can handle, what the paper in the Archer and Olive can handle. The opposite side of this spread, I am doing my mood tracker, and I wasn't totally sure what to do for the mood tracker, and then it occurred to me, of course, to do one of the Halo rings. If you're not familiar with the video games, basically you have your standard humanity is fighting a evil alien force, quote evil. There's an alien force that we're fighting. They started a war with us for reasons. And then in the middle of this war, there's zombies. Surprise, zombies. So it's like a 3-pronged conflict. And one of the elements in Halo are these gigantic, artificially constructed rings that have been around so long that they have terraformed. And there are biomes on the surface of these rings. So what I did for my mood tracker is one of the halo rings that has not been terraformed yet, so it's still in construction, I guess you could say. And each day of the month is sort of a segment of the ring. You'll see what I mean once I start drawing that in. I wanted to do just like a flat black wash, keep it simple. I wasn't going to try and go for anything complicated. And here we are at the beginning of the spread to get us started. Oh my goodness, Halo. I want to tell you a story. So I actually used to hate Halo. I thought it was a stupid game where boys just shot at each other and killed each other and screamed a lot. I knew that my spouse, who at the time was just my boyfriend, liked playing it, and he liked playing it with his friends, but I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it was this dumb shooter game. And for his birthday, oh my god, which birthday was that? I can't even remember now, but for his birthday, I coordinated with his family to get him a Xbox 360 and the 3 Halo games. The third one had just come out, and I got him all 3 of them. Keep in mind, I thought I hated these games, and I was doing this just because he enjoyed them so much. So I got him the games, we got it all set up. I figure, okay, I'll hang out while he's playing it, I'll give it a try. And he played the first game, which he had never had the opportunity to play them all the way through in the campaign to like get the full story. He had gotten bits and pieces of the story here and there. So we kind of experienced the story together for the first time. And I was blown away by the depth of the plot. Now, obviously Halo is not like fine literature exactly, but it actually had a plot when I thought it didn't have anything. And it had this sense of humor that clicked perfectly with me. I understood it, and I loved the characters. I found the storyline so compelling. The voice acting in the game is absolutely incredible. And one of the things that I particularly loved the most in the first 3 Halo games are the chapter titles, which we will talk about more later in this setup. But it was at that point that Halo became one of my favorite games. We played through all 3. I absolutely loved them. I have been a fan ever since. I have read Halo novels. I am a Halo fan. So you saw here I did the little silhouette of Master Chief Sierra 117 and Cortana. It's one of my deepest beloved ships. And I showed you how I traced this outline. There was no way I was going to be able to draw this myself, so I used a handy art school trick for tracing, and obviously had to use the classic Halo font for the month. This I actually managed to like draw in, and it's not perfect, but I am so pleased with how it looks. The colors that I went with this month, you saw the dark purple and this like, I guess you could call it a hunter green. It's like that classic Master Chief Mjolnir armor green, which is kind of an odd combination. I don't love the color combination, but it ties in so close with the game itself that I do really like it. I'm going with a list calendar once again. It felt like the most obvious choice because I wanted to incorporate these like data pad things. It's the only way that I could think to incorporate a very science fiction feel to the setup. And it doesn't look perfect. And it doesn't look quite like I might have wanted it to, but I really like it still. I'm really pleased with it. So just doing this sort of asymmetrical shape and some asymmetrical slanted corners. And I'm also highlighting, it's not quite every other day in 2 colors, the yellow and the blue. I chose because these are the colors of the terminals that you find throughout the games. And at the terminals, you learn information and backstory about the universe. There's this rich lore to the world of Didact and the Librarian, and like the origin of the Halo rings. So we're getting in super deep here. On the right side of the spread, the panel that I am drawing in here is going to be a place for my goals throughout the month. I'm going to be completely honest here. I have still not completed my full mid-year check-in on my goals. I really need to do that. I really need to make time and space to do that, but I haven't done it yet. But I know that I am making progress on my goals, and that is progress that I want to continue through the rest of the year. Because Halo is like a space military type of vibe, I, of course, had to label this objectives. I don't love the way that this font turned out. I think this would have been a lot better looking if it was larger and I had used a ruler, but what's done is done, and it doesn't bother me that much. And I added in the little UNSC, which is the United Naval Space Corps, I think. Is that right? I just embarrassed myself. And I found a few little things online to include. This is a graphic, which is with just like a space background to it, I guess, instead of it being colored in. And it is the Ark, which is the ancient ship construction thing that actually built the Halos. And then Master Chief's ship, and the quote is "Wake up, John." And then the other thing that I did was I will link in the description, I found a website where you can make these little pixel speech bubbles. I mentioned I love a lot of the chapter titles. I love a lot of the dialogue in the game. So I took some of my favorite lines and my favorite chapter titles, and I wrote them up in these speech bubbles to include throughout the month. So the one that I included on the right side of the spread there is a conversation between Cortana and Master Chief, and that is "Got an escape plan. Thought I'd try shooting my way out. Mix things up a little." Peak Master Chief. And then on the left-hand side of the spread, above the silhouette drawing, I included "Wake me when you need me," which is Master Chief preparing to go into cryo sleep and telling Cortana to wake him up when the time is appropriate. But there's this subtext there. It is there. Don't lie to me. It is absolutely there. And she should have just said, "I need you now." But anyway, moving on. I'm so sorry. I'm so into this that I'm like losing myself. Anyway, what I was showing you there at the very beginning of this new spread was the amount of rippling that occurred at the edges of the pages. And honestly, even though it did bleed through a lot, I'm very impressed with the lack of rippling, considering the huge amount of water that I used when doing that watercoloring. And the left side of this spread is going to be my gratitude/daily log. I have really not been great at my gratitude logging, but I'm going to keep at it. It is a goal, and I am not giving up just because I'm not doing well with it. Obviously, had to call this a ship's log, and I'm doing that same every other highlighting with the yellow and blue. Very simple, very straightforward. Hopefully that will encourage me to actually do my gratitude logging. One can only hope. And here we are back at the mood tracker that I was telling you about before. See, I'm adding in these sort of random is not the right word, but it's like random geometric shapes. They're like panels in a metal construction, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just doing these shapes all the way down, and each one will be numbered 1 through 31, and I'll color them in with a different shade of gray. depending on my mood that day, which is, I know, not terribly exciting, but because it fits so closely with the theme, I still feel really invested in it. So I have confidence in this. And right about here is me thinking, after I wrote in 31, that I didn't have 31 spaces. So I drew an extra one and then immediately had to go in and erase it. I don't know why I did that, but it's fine. It's fine. Bullet journaling is not supposed to be perfect. So here I have little sketches of 3 of my favorite ships from the Halo game, and I'm highlighting each of them with one of the colors for my mood. So the ships that I used are the Pillar of Autumn, the Forward Unto Dawn, and In Amber Clad. Yeah, I guess I should also clarify, I love the ship names. Is there anything about the Halo games that I don't love? Yeah, I don't love Reach and I don't love Halo 4. Since I was using paints anyway, I went ahead and used some of my white acrylic paint to cover up a little bit of bleeding from the watercolor, and then used some thinned out white acrylic paint to do a splattering of stars, which is very messy, but I really like the look of splatter white acrylic for stars. I think it just completes the look. And I also used a little bit of white acrylic paint to cover up my mistake of 31 days. Really don't know how I did that, particularly because I wrote 31 and then went and was like, oh, I don't have enough spaces, even though I just wrote 31. Whatever, moving on. Adding some stars to just finish off the nebula space scene where I will paste in pictures at the end of the month. I really love how this turned out. I might go back in with a white gel pen. You can see I made an absolute mess of myself. I might go back in throughout the month with a white gel pen to do a little bit more detailing, but I might not. It sort of depends. Here we're pasting in the 3 ships. And that is the end of the last spread for my August setup. Here we are at the final flip through. I know I talked a mile a minute about this game and it was ridiculous, but thank you for indulging me. If you have watched this far, let me know down in the comments if you have played Halo, or what is a video game franchise or just a video game that is near and dear to your heart, if you play video games. If not, that is also totally cool. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you are doing well. Please remember to check the description for some resources about how to support the Black Lives Matter movement and help improve the world. And I will talk to you all later. Stay tuned next week for the bonus 2020 Bullet Journal Part 2 video. You know what I'm talking about. See you then.